Top chat, live chat, boom.
And
boom.
we're live. And Dan, how's it going? We are live streaming to Dan today.
Dan, what's up, Dan? Buddy Dan.
Happy Friday, buddy. Oh, it's been a week. Oh, it's been a week. So yeah. So voices.com crap. One of the reasons there's a big controversy over them where they were giving, so they've got the ultimate tiers, like one tier is like $2,000 or $1,500. And if you bought that tier, you had first bid. Like all those guys were getting all the jobs, and the people with like the premium subscription that costs like $400 or $500 got very little. And Marianne still uses it, and she gets like 1 or 2 gigs a month. But you're hustling for it. Like you're trying out for everything, and you're taking home 1 or 2. It's really not worth it. People piling in the door. How's it going today? Happy Friday. 5. All right, we got people coming in.
You know what'd be cool? And this is just, I don't know, it's just me just overthinking stuff. So I'm noticing our light sources, our key light, is on opposite sides. It's in the middle as far as the screen thing. So it wouldn't be cool if you had like a DCS logo like right in between the two, and it's like that's the light source. Wouldn't that be kind of neat looking?
That would be kind of cool, actually. We do have a DC logo right in between us. It's right there.
Oh yeah, on your monitor. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not the light source.
By weird. You'd have to change that.
I'm actually thinking about changing around my background. I'm thinking about going to something a little different that's not just my work. So I was thinking about doing like a guitar setup, a wall, hang my guitars on the wall, and have some, have the sound panels in between each guitar, so you kind of have a nice little look, and then I can put like a bench there with a mic bench. I'm getting another workbench, and I'm putting all my mics in it to get rid of these bloody shelves that are in there here. It's
I'm getting to the point. Like I spent like 10 years with a really large mic drawer. You've seen it, and it's getting to the point now. I don't got room in that drawer no more. I'm like just piling. I'm not even organizing it. I'm just piling them in there because there's no way to organize.
You're welcome, buddy. You're welcome.
Yeah. I was gonna say like a third of that is your stuff.
Well, no, it's yours. Trust me, you got 100%. They are yours. You can sell them. You can do whatever you want with them. There's only the couple that I'm like, yeah, just hold on to those just in case. But
just in case, yeah.
I don't. You've got the LA 120s coming at some point as soon as I'm done that review too, which is interesting because we've got a Gigcaster on the way. That's the name of this stream. So going to be doing a lot more music stuff with the Gigcaster. I also ordered a Mac. I dropped $1,600 on a Mac Mini.
1,600? That's it? That's not bad.
That's like not even their base. Like that's the base model, but built up a bit. Chat is quiet today.
I was gonna say, oh no, I'm still in top chat. Maybe live chat. Maybe people are just cussing a bunch. No, it's dead.
All right. Wow. It is the day before Canada Day. Maybe all the Americans are like getting ready to come up to Canada for some kick-ass fireworks or something.
Right. Yeah. Fireworks in the middle of wildfire season. Genius. Dan, you want to write us a song, buddy? You want to just content out that stream?
We haven't had a stream this quiet in some time. This is actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, and we're like dead on time too.
I know. Well, that's probably the reason. Nobody
expects us to be like 15 to 20 minutes late.
Yeah, I actually have to be out of here by 6. So Canada Day in Canada tomorrow. Obviously in Canada. And my in-laws are in town. They just got in about an hour and a bit ago. So I have to go entertain after this. That's part of the process. It's
lovely.
It is what fun. It makes for a long weekend, that's for sure. We've got a bunch of family coming in, but that's okay. That's okay. I do like me some fireworks. Yeah, we got more people piling in. Still a quiet one, but Gigcaster. So Dylan.
Yes, sir.
We were talking about doing, and I'm pretty sure you could use the Gigcaster for a live setting, because you can get a pedal board for it. You can get, different accoutrements to go along with it. I think I'm going to end up getting the pedal board just to mess around. I might even get back into a band. Maybe
That was some nice Franglish there, friend. You getting ready for Bill 96?
accoutrement. Man, I'm out of Quebec, man. I'm allowed to speak French. Steve Schnetzler actually caught the start of your show. Wow. Nice, Steve. Good to have you here. I was expecting you guys a few minutes later than you were.
Yep.
Fair.
That's exactly what we thought.
That's kind of fair, yeah. Hassan, happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. Jesus. You are not in North America. Where are you? Where are you from, Hassan?
Somewhere near the date line.
Yeah, so on the other side of, well, I mean, all you got to do is be, 7 hours ahead. So, because it's 5:05.
Yeah, 5:05.
So I'm guessing, so what does that put you? That puts you...
Unless it's like 5 a.m. there or something.
That's possible. So that's Australia time, isn't it?
You don't know what time it is on Saturday.
Australia, 7 a.m. All right, cool. All right.
Nice. Holy jeez, that's pretty much completely
Wake up on a Saturday morning just to hang out with us. I am absolutely honored. I don't know if I would sit up at 8 a.m. and hang out with me. So
I just don't think I would sit up at 8 a.m.
Dude, what time do you wake up normally? But I've always been curious about this because you're like you and your partner, you're dinks, right? Double income, no kids.
Yeah.
So you don't have any like reason to wake up early in the morning other than work.
Oh, yeah, we get up at 6.
You get up at 6 a.m. on the weekend?
No, not on the weekend. God, no. I'm saying like during the week, 6 a.m. Weekend. Well, I mean, your body kind of falls into a rhythm, right? So on the weekend, 7 or 8 o'clock usually.
Mine never falls into a rhythm, man. I've woken up every job I've had since I started work around 5 a.m. Almost every single job.
Don't get me wrong. If I was left to my own devices, like I was like midway through my 20s and just was contracting and could do work at any time of the day, I will totally gravitate to going to bed at 6 a.m. and waking up at 3 p.m. That's exactly what's going to happen. That's my body likes to operate at nighttime.
When you get a partner, that changes, eh? You get a partner and then all of a sudden you're like waking up at 8 so you can go do stuff.
It's so funny because we've talked about this. We were just laughing about this like yesterday, the day before actually, and she said like she used to be a night owl too. Before.
Oh, really?
And then it's like suddenly you get together and you get your shit together.
Yeah, you're playing house, and then all of a sudden you're like, gotta wake up at 8, gotta go to the flea market.
I don't subscribe to this idea that like if you if you're a night owl, you're a shithead. I don't subscribe to that idea. I know lots of very very efficient people that prefer to work at night. And make a ton of coin. And so it's like, I mean, some people are just built for it, I think.
Nuno, how's it going, buddy? 11 p.m. in Spain. Going to Spain, I believe, next December. Doing Spain and Morocco. So this year we're doing Europe, and then Spain, Morocco the year after, and then I think we're going to go back and do like France, Germany, that stuff. This year we're just doing the Scotland, England. And Steve says 11 p.m. in Cologne. Yeah, I'll be in Germany soon. I really want to do. Germany's like my home country. I'm the most blood is German. The last name German. So.
Yeah, are you a fan of the culture? You jive with the German culture?
I don't really know the German culture, man.
Neither do I. That's why I was hoping you were going to say yes, and then I'd be like, okay, what is that? Because I know German things.
Yeah.
But like I don't know German culture.
I'm a little bit more flamboyant than I believe a lot of Germans are, so I don't know how I'll mix in. We'll see.
Oh yeah, very matter of fact culture, very much like poof, this is what it is. And interesting.
I'll see how I vibe. I'm very very animated, but. So with the Boss Gigcaster coming in, I'm going to be lending this to you after I get the play around with it. And what are your hopes on this? Because I don't really know a lot about the Gigcaster.
I was gonna say I don't really know much about it either, other than it's made by Boss, that's a check mark. And it's got a lot of interface features and pedal features and just a lot of stuff going on. I'm excited to run it through its paces. The first sort of multi-purpose Boss product I ever used was the Boss DR880, which was like a Dr. Rhythm, they called it, a drum and bass machine.
Yeah.
And you could run, it was amazing. You could record MIDI patterns either by step or by recording real time, bass, lines, and they had a bunch of different bass patches, drum lines, like tons of different drum patches, effects for the drum patches. It had a guitar, bass, acoustic guitar input, and effects like amp modeling, various like flanger, choruses, phaser, really, really detailed settings on all these too. And this is something that's probably like 20 years old, this product. And I was just floored. I used that to start my sort of songwriting music journey, essentially. And it did me well. I still have the damn thing. It did me well.
Nice. So this thing,
I'm looking at this going, this is just an updated version of that, which I can only imagine, right?
It's a GCS5, so it's I think only 2 mic inputs, which I'm fine with. I like the Rodecaster Duo is better for me than the Rodecaster Pro. Like I don't ever hook up 4 microphones.
No, unless you're doing some kind of panel thing or you're recording a drum kit.
Well, yeah, there is that. We'll talk about that in a second. But this has all the effects derived from the GT1000.
Nice.
So
I've been eyeballing that. I wanted to buy that.
This is like got it all. So and you can get your own pedal for it. The GAFC foot controller. So if you get that foot controller, you basically have the GT1000. Right? Like, as long as you have all of the same functionality that the GT1000 had.
I love how it looks. It's adorable.
It is. It looks like the Rodecaster Pro, the original. It actually, yeah, it actually does. Like, it's very, very similar. I'm still waiting on it in the mail. It is coming. I'm really looking forward to. I would like to. One of the reasons I bought the and I know Dylan's been on my ass. He's like, just buy the drums from Contact. Just buy. What was the drum set or the drum?
There's a few Abbey Road drums. Abbey Road modern drummer is a good one. Depends what you're going for. If you're going for like an 80s kind of sparkly vibe, the 80s drummer is awesome. The 50s drummer. I don't really use the 50s drummer. I usually, if I'm going for 50s, I use the vintage drummer.
See, a lot of the music I play is metal based. So
yeah,
like
okay, so in that case, I would say the studio drummer, Native Instruments studio drummer, and I would use they have like a white garage kit kind of thing. They got a stadium kit. So for metal, I've done a few metal mixes. Then I'll use the mixture, parallel sampled mixture of the garage kit they call it, and the stadium kit. And I find the stadium kit just gives it some nice space, whereas the garage kit is nice and dirty but articulate. Yeah. But articulate. Like the kick in mic on that is super like.
Yeah, you got smack there. Eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Logic has a really good drum machine. Like it's really, really good. It's really intuitive. You have a lot of control to it. You can get really, really in on the control of it as well. It's really expanded over the years. I'm looking forward to trying that and then expanding into Studio Drummer.
Well, I was gonna say, like, hats off to Logic as a product made by Apple. It's actually got a lot of like industry-leading features. That said, Contact and all of the subdivisions of
Obviously.
that is kind of the industry standard for sampling.
I'm starting with this. So my programming of drums is only a little bit better than my playing of drums. Programming, see, and this is the thing, programming drums is an art form in itself. Not anyone just sits down and programs a drum set. That doesn't work that way. You literally got to work your ass off for it.
You can program electronic drums, and this is funny because this is probably going to be, working on a YouTube channel. This will be one of my first videos. Is just scratching the surface of how to program drums or how I do it, because I have fooled drummers.
Nice.
Like good drummers with my programming. I have spent my entire album time on that entire album is programmed. And I've played for drummers and they're like, what guide you get on that session? And I'm like, my hands, man. It helps to know the instrument. Like, again, I'm not the best drummer, and you know that.
You're a lot better than I am, that's for sure.
But because I haven't picked up sticks in like 6 years up until last weekend. It really helps to understand, okay, how does the body move to perform a fill? Yeah. And what are some ways what are some natural fluctuations, right? Like for me, a lot of MIDI programs, they have a setting called Humanize.
Yeah.
And what Humanize does essentially is it will randomize the accuracy of the notes. So if you have all the notes on the bar line, it will move them like a few milliseconds forward, a few milliseconds back, and just fluctuate how accurate they are. And the thing is human performance is not random.
No.
It seems random because the pattern is too complicated for us to comprehend, but it's not random.
It's emotional.
It's emotional and it's also physical.
Yeah.
The way a guitar player plays a solo, some of the accuracies of the notes are dependent on how their hand is moving.
Yeah.
And that's not random. That's actually very repetitive and predictable, but it's a very complicated equation, obviously. But anyway, yes, programming drums is an art form, 100%.
Yeah. All right. Steve, German culture changes per region. Yeah, I figured as much. The region along the Rhine is very liberal. We have the best carnival in Europe. I can't wait. I would love to be there for something like that. Like, we're going to Scotland and England when nothing really is going on. Like, there's not a lot. We're going to be in Edinburgh mostly, and then Isle of Skye and stuff like that. I really wish we could hit some
the Isle
carnivals.
of Islay and get some good scotch.
I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from scotch while I'm out there, man. I'm gonna just drink a couple beer here and there. Joe, I just sold my Pro 2 for the Duo. Didn't need all those channels. You know what? And I hear a lot of people saying that, and it's weird that Rode went kind of the opposite direction. They usually companies come out with the small one and then they grow bigger. It almost sucks that Rode didn't do that first, but I guess they have a decent business model based on it. Hassan, the only thing I dislike about the Rodecaster Pro 2 is the absence of a physical record button. Yeah, I hear that. I don't really care about the physical one, but yeah, it is definitely absent from the face of it. Dan, I had a Boss Doctor pedal. Boss DR pedal. Oh, that's the, I know that. I know that one. I know all the Boss pedals. I love Boss. It was built like a tank. They didn't even put a hole in the metal for the pad itself. Pickup was mounted directly to the metal shell. Yeah, Boss is literally the best pedal.
Oh, yeah. I got a whole pedal board full of them, and they're all built like they'll last my lifetime and probably a few more.
Yeah, no kidding. Know Your Joe says good afternoon. So yeah, I guess Joe's in the North American region. How's it going, Joe? Johan, I live in Edinburgh. It's a great place to visit. Yeah, I almost moved to Edinburgh about 17 years back. Not even, like maybe about 15 or 16. A buddy of mine moved there, and he's since moved back, but I almost moved with him, and I ended up staying in Brampton at the time, and kind of wish I always wanted to live somewhere like that. It's beautiful. I've always wanted to go to Edinburgh. Can't wait. Notting Hill Carnival, Sunday 27th of August to Monday. Oh man, Notting Hill Carnival. We won't be there that late in August. We're leaving on the 10th, the day after my birthday. Johan, loving my new Rodecaster Duo. Yeah, I've heard not a lot of people saying bad things about it. 1, 2, try the Duo. 3, 4, Gigcast. More 5, 6, Dylan picks up sticks. That's Liberty, dude.
Yep.
I will have to say, I've got a video coming out about, we were talking about this, I think, last week about latency. And I did notice this. So I can get to 64 on my computer. I can't believe you can't get to 64 buffer size, man. Like, you're saying you're stuck at 128?
Oh, no, God, no. No, 64 is my normal.
Oh, I thought you said you couldn't get below 128. I was like,
no, on a USB 2 interface, you can't get below 256.
Well, you can. Like, so I've got my AudioFuse Studio. I can get that to 64. No problem.
USB 2.0?
Yeah.
Why?
Now, if I were to load it up with tracks, and I'm probably going to struggle to record 4 or 5 tracks at a time.
See, that's the nice thing. So with my interface is MADI. It's MADI light pipe. So it's always sending 64 channels of audio back and forth from the interface. So me plugging in stuff or using those, it doesn't slow it down at all. I can go up to 64 in and 64 out, and I'm still at 64 samples latency.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. But it's neat that you can get down there at all.
Well, yeah,
on a USB 2.0 interface, like 480 megabits. I mean, I guess if you're recording one channel.
Yeah. But I don't think I would have a problem with because I've recorded 3 channels at a time on that interface, and I haven't had an issue.
And also sample rate is dependent. Obviously, if you're recording at 48.
And that's usually what I record at. I don't go higher. And I think that's the big deal. Sample rate and buffer size do go very hand in hand.
Well, they're literally gauged on samples. Like 64 samples at 48K is a lot smaller than 64 samples at 44.
Kidding.
Heaven forbid 192.
So I tested my Rodecaster Pro 2 on both computers, and the lowest it'll get is 128. And you can actually use 128, right? Like 128 is plausible.
Yeah, I would say 128 is fine. In fact, 128 is pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, as we talked about last week, computer that you got to have a decent machine too, to be able to get down to those latency levels. Like lower latencies directly impact the cross sectional load on your CPU.
Yeah.
So if you have a really shitty CPU, yeah, you're not getting below like 512 probably.
Oh, but wait, there's more. So it won't get below 128. When I use 128, it's staticky. I got those clicks and pops. So I have to use 256. Most people doing podcasts won't notice so. Like if you're doing a podcast, you're not going to notice the latency of that. It's just a little more chorusy in your headphones. However,
then you can listen through the interface. There's a throughput monitoring in that, isn't there, on the audio fuse?
I'm talking about the Rodecaster Pro 2.
Oh shit! Sorry, that was
Pro
still
2.
talking about the other.
So you can't get below 256 with the Rodecaster Pro on PC. When you hook it up to whatchamacallit, an Apple. So I use the MacBook Air M1. I got down to 64, no problem, and lower. Because it's USB 3.1 Gen 2.
Yeah, well, that's way more throughput than you need. So the bus is not going to be a factor in that case.
It was incredible. So the question is, and this was the whole gist of the video. It's coming out in a couple weeks because I've got a Shure video coming out this Monday. The question though is this not just them needing to kind of work on their drivers? Because it's obviously driver based. This thing has enough throughput. It's 3.1 Gen 2, but you can't get below 256 without clicks and pops. But I can get below that with the USB 2.0 device. So it's basically their ASIO driver needs to be tweaked so it's not quite so.
I was going to say, so clicks and pops, what that would tell me is that, yeah, their driver is not made very. Because if the computer's the same,
Yes.
and the number of channels and the sample rate is all the same, and the only thing that's different is the interface, then it has to be driver related because the interface itself has dedicated hardware. So it's really hard to bog down an interface like internally.
Right.
If you have a shitty driver that has tons of layers to it.
But the Rodecaster Pro has a quad-core CPU on it. So you're not bogging that down.
So the driver is shit. That's what that tells me. Or maybe not shit. But the driver is not as efficient as it could be.
No, and that's one of the things that it'll be an interesting. Like I'm just finishing the video up now. It is fascinating when you start to look at and you start plugging different interfaces in. My Scarlett I can get down to 64. That's a USB 2.0. Because very few consumer grade interfaces below $1,000 are anything more than 2.0.
So what I would say is in the Rodecaster's case, and this is a huge factor with ASIO drivers, what kind of layers in terms of like software mixers, command centers, like those kinds of programs, how big is it for the Rodecaster?
What do you mean?
Like, you know how every interface in this modern day and age basically comes with software mixers?
There's nothing, no. There's nothing.
So what the fuck is it that's bogging down the CPU?
The ASIO drivers. The ASIO drivers are the bottleneck between the interface and your computer.
Oh yeah, but those control centers are part of the driver because before the audio goes to whatever your program is, it goes through that software mixer.
No, there's no software mixer. There's nothing.
That's weird.
There's not even Rode Central. I don't think because the Rodecaster Pro 2 has like DSP, it has a quad-core CPU, so it's running everything internally. Now, there is a possibility that could be the slowdown, that's the bottleneck. So, but then if that's the bottleneck, you done messed up because you got a 3.1 Gen 2 throughway to your computer. Yeah. Why are you having a slowdown where you can't get lower than second gen Scarlett on your buffer size? That's a problem.
So next time you do that, next time you're doing latency tests on your Rodecaster, I want you to open up the performance tab in Task Manager and see how much your CPU is being hit. especially when you get those clicks and pops, because generally if it is your system for some reason, either the driver or some other software component that's slowing everything down, it's going to hit the roof and then go back down and then hit the roof and then go back down, and it's gonna be messy. But if it's not, if your CPU is staying completely stable and you're not getting any crazy peaks, there's one nice thing about Pro Tools. Pro Tools has a CPU peak monitor. Task Manager doesn't give you that kind of information.
No.
Which is
Well,
unfortunate. They give you like
info.
a cross-sectional average.
I've got hardware info. I can tell when I'm peaked, like when I'm like
Good.
crapped
Yeah,
out.
so run that, because I'd be curious, like what your average is if you're playing back or recording at that like 128 samples or whatever, or as low as it can go, essentially.
Well, but the thing is the buffer doesn't really hurt you when you're playing back. Like it will coming back. What hurts you is when you're recording, you're putting audio in.
When I'm mixing and I've got 300 plugins loaded across my session on a 16-core processor, I set it to 1024.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what the latency is. I mean, yeah, there's a slight difference. You can see when the meter moves versus when something comes out of your speakers. Like at that point, it is visually perceivable, but it's not going to impact my mixing.
No,
right?
God, no. Let's catch up here. Johan, how do you rate the Rode headphones you have on, been considering them? Johan, that's a great question. I love them. These are my favorite headphones. I own 3 pair. This is the most comfortable pair of headphones I've owned. So the big thing for me is ear sweat when you're using headphones for long periods of time. And I used to do a morning show, and I would have my headphones on for like 5 hours. And even like my Bear Dynamics, my ears sweat like a son of a bitch. These things, they don't sweat. And that's actually a huge deal for me. Now, there have been some people that have had a hard time with the links breaking on these Rode headsets. However, Rode does replace them. From what I know, Rode has no problem replacing them right out of the box. Rode NTH 100s, yep. What headphones are you using? Are they comfortable with glasses? Yeah, no problem. The glasses, because of the style of memory foam they use on these, it literally like kind of molds to the glasses, so it doesn't push the glasses into the side of your head. The best headphones with glasses, easily, the Bear Dynamic DT770 Pro. Those are the best glasses headphones I've had. They're just so soft and love them. And everyone's talking about headphones. I like to change my headphones throughout the day. When I switch to Rhodes after wearing DT770s for a couple hours or more, they feel so cool and comfortable. Yeah, the Rode, these are really, really cool. Very, very comfortable. They are heavy. So if you don't like heavy headphones, yeah, it's going to suck. You need to find some decent headphones that'll allow me to see while I listen. Yeah, these aren't the most critical headphones. They're decent. Like at the price they're probably one of the best pairs. The Shure SRH 840s are in about the same market. I like these. So I gave my SRH 840s to my son. Like I was just don't even want them anymore. Not even close in comfort. The SRH 840s do have a bit better sound and they're a little flatter. But I'm not doing any hardcore critical listening with these on. These are just literally monitoring headphones. And if you're not doing critical listening, they're perfect. So the DT770s do sound a lot better. But the DT770s are, depending on the resistance, like they've got 80 ohms. I've got the 250s.
Oh, they got like the broadcast settings. Nice.
Yeah. So if you have like they even have a 600 ohm set for the DT770s. And if you don't have enough oomph in your interface, if your interface is bus powered, you're probably not going to have a better experience on the DT770s over something like this. In fact, like if you don't have enough push out of your interface, you're better off with something like this. The DT770s will just sound really quiet and crappy. So there, headphones all caught up. We went to the studio, Dylan.
That we did.
We actually went to a real godforsaken studio. It was actually a lot of fun. Cost me a little over $200. How was all your footage, by the way? Spoiler: Dylan wrote a song, and Dylan,
I did this. It's a cover.
Is it? What is it a cover of?
It's a cover of a song that will be released at a point in time.
If you don't know, actually put it in chat. Put your channel in chat.
All right. I'll just post because I'm signed in as the channel.
What? You're signed in as the channel. There you go. You can't click any of the links though. You can't click on the channel.
Well, that's annoying. You can't even click on the. Oh yeah, you're right. Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. I'll have to actually post a link, and YouTube will be like, "Ha, spam."
Put a video up. Dylan does video stuff. Hey, look, I'm live.
I'm an idiot. I'm typing YouTube.com into YouTube. Jesus.
Oh, that is perfect. You're at 76,
No idea,
76 subscribers. Looking for something to use for video editing? Know your Joe? If you're just video editing and listening while you're editing, something like this are perfect. Depends on how much you want to spend. They're premium. They're not premium in quality, and I don't want to say it like that, but they're not like the SRH 940s. These things are premium in the fact that they've got the Alcantara stuff on the ears. If you're wearing them a long time while you're editing, they'll be really, really comfortable.
I miss my 940s, man. They had a sparkle to them. They died, and I'm pissed off about it.
Oh, you linked, didn't you?
Yeah, I linked.
So I'm just
now,
just give me a second. Just give me a
for
second.
anybody, Shure headphones are awesome. They're comfortable. Obviously the 940s are kind of ultimate comfortable, although they're like $400 or $500. So that has an impact. But with any Shure headphones, particularly in the less than 1,000 for 840, 440, 240, 940. This doesn't apply to the 1540 or the 1840 because I believe those are mostly metal construction, at least as far as the band is concerned. So that's not really an issue. But collapse your extensions before you take immediately after you take the headphones off.
Yeah.
I do that with my 840s, and even when I drop them, it saves them because it's shielded, right? It's inside that little pocket, and as long as you're not dropping them really violently. Or they're not falling down really violently, they'll survive. But if you have that little link extended and it gets caught on the cable and it goes like yoink, that'll kill you. That'll kill you.
And it's like they're not cheap. They're like $300 Canadian, man.
No, and so another thing is tip. Shure stands by it. So if you do that, don't glue it. Call Shure right away because that's what I did. My 940s, I tried to get them functional again because it happens in the middle of a workday.
Yeah.
Like, well, shit, I want these headphones back. And they're like, well, they can go and they'll take them back and they'll issue you new ones. But if you try to fix them, that voids the warranty. They won't do it.
That's so stupid. That's
break
so
your
stupid.
headphones. You gotta, but it's like I told the guys, like, what do you expect though, man? Like I'm a professional, and I only bring one pair of headphones to the office with me. So
Right. Well, this is why I've got backup pairs because
I do at home, but generally I don't go to work with backup pairs. I wish we had backup pairs there, to be honest. But
just get an old cheap pair to keep at work just in case shit hits the fan.
yeah.
Because, like at your work, how critical of listening are you doing? Not really, right?
You'd be surprised.
Oh, yeah?
Sometimes, like on yesterday, I got a voice track back that was supposed to be 22. It was 27. No, sorry, it's supposed to be 20, and it was 27. And I'm like editing, like micro editing syllables, and like matching up zoomed in as far as you can go. And I'm editing out, and so I'm listening real tight to make sure that those syllables they'll glide into each other properly, and that the track isn't. It was just a typical case of somebody that reads way too slow, so I'm artificially trying to make them sound like they're a little bit more verbally adept. But yeah.
You gotta love working with people who work at a radio station. So we went to the studio. And we tracked some drums. We didn't really track drums, but we recorded drums.
We recorded 2 minutes of drums, yeah.
We recorded 2 minutes of drums. We were in there 4 hours, and we got 2 minutes of drums. Really, really cool. How to mic up a drum set. That's coming. So I'm actually, this is actually fascinating. So I'm taking August off. I've shared that before, so everyone knows. I still have videos planned, though. So we're just going to be not doing the live stream for August. There's also something relatively big happening that I'm going to be taking care of in Brampton. So I'm taking August off, but I'm shooting ahead. So I've got all these videos planned for August that I can walk away, and then when I come back, I can start working on videos again in September. And so this is going to be one of them. So it's not going to be out for a bit, but really cool to get into a studio and actually do a little bit of music. Like, how long has it been since you were in a studio, Dylan?
4 years.
4 years. This is something I think we're gonna have to do more of.
I've been in studios and obviously my home studio every day, but an actual like a music recording facility, it's been a while.
What do you think? What do you think of the experience there? But where would you rank this on all your studios that you've been at?
Well, I mean, it's certainly not the cleanest studio I've ever been in. It's well equipped, although their implementation of how well equipped you're allowed to be in there are interesting. Lots of space, lots of resources, good treated room. Like the room, look great for shooting video. So much, so much room to move around and get stuff, going.
I'm doing this video up. It looks like a 70s porn. Just because of the way the lighting hit, it's wood accent, so it's kind of got that yellowish 70s look to it. But what's fascinating is the shirt you wore, Dylan, fits in that aesthetic. So it's kind of got the same aesthetic. And then your facial hair and your hair. So you got the handlebar mustache and the soul patch. Dude, we could have shot a porn and nobody would have known the difference.
Nope.
Like it was fascinating.
I didn't even think of that, but like, we were joking about that. Like when we were getting stuff ready, we are like, oh man, this is especially with the Persian pattern rug,
right?
And like, I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be freaking hilarious. But yeah, I didn't even think with the shirt. It was a hot day, and you remember it was gross outside.
I actually saw the footage of myself on video. So I did an intro. I just winged an intro in front of the camera with the drum set behind me. And I got back and I looked at it. What's that?
And me fucking around behind
you. Yeah, you're messing around. But I looked at the footage and I'm soaked. I'm like wet. I can't use that
even
footage.
When I looked at the music video footage that we shot after, and I'm like, fuck, I look like shit.
Right?
Goddamn.
It's so hard. Oh, hey, buddy. We got Sneed in the house. Got a wrench. Salute to the panel. Hello, everyone in the live chat. How's it going, Sneed? It was 16 years since I've been in the studio.
Holy shit.
So, like, in an actual professional studio environment, the fascinating thing, and, like, I like the idea that we were able to go in there. So it only costs us $45 an hour to use this studio. It's double that if you want to get an engineer. I, however, have an engineer in Dylan. Dylan knows, like, you to bring him into a studio, Dylan's going to know what to do. Flat out. But I don't think they're used to people bringing in their own engineers. Because so I'm like, okay, cool. So we'll go with 3 hours at the time. I'm like, well, we'll just do that. He's like, well, are you bringing an interface to record? And I'm like, no, dude, you're a studio. You have an interface. You have a board.
You're bringing an interface to record at like a major $1 million facility.
And
like,
he's like, well, but you don't know the board. I'm like, but I have a... Boards aren't that different. Once you know the patch bay, you know the board. That's all you need is you need to know the patch bay. That's it. Anyways, he's like, I don't know. And he's like, well, are you bringing your own microphones? Like, yes, because we had a deal. Like, I'm working with Lawton Audio for this video. We've got a lot of really cool mics from Lawton. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll be bringing some. But I'm like, if we need a couple more, I might just grab some out of your pile. He's like, no, that's not going to happen. What are we using you for? we're renting you as a room now.
I have to point out that that's kind of funny to me because, after the guy literally left the building, half of their collection. Also, I pointed out to you, like, the door was unlocked to them. I'm like, you guys are so careful about your security, clearly.
Well, I mean, it's obvious that we're not idiots. We walked in there and you could tell he was like, oh, so you're not morons. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a whole hatchback full of crap to load into.
I literally brought $10,000 worth of gear with me. Like it's ridiculous when I'm offloading my car and it's like, oh, yeah, if I added all this up, like, yeah, I'm sure his mic locker is bigger, but still, absolutely ridiculous. Oh, Red Cabin's in the house. Cheers, brother. My wife just got home. I don't know if you can all hear that, but she's rummaging around and the dogs are going nuts.
I think the thing is, you can read, and this is the hard thing, right, about engineering. Most of audio engineering you can learn on the internet. How to function in a commercial recording studio, you can't learn that on the internet.
No.
There are procedural between the lines stuff that you get into studio. It's like, okay, what's the first thing you do? That's not something you're going to see in an article somewhere. What's the first thing you do?
No. Set up
Well,
a
you go in
drum
the
set.
studio and you figure out what you need, figure out what you don't need. That's first thing you do.
Yeah.
And you know, people start, like, a lot of people get into who are like self-taught or who have never been in one of those environments before. And it's just like, oh my God, like you're in front of all this stuff and they just leave you to your own devices and you're like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And that's fair, right? I mean, I've done it many times before, so I know the procedure. I know how you go about maximizing your however many hours. In this case, 4 hours. Although this was like, I've never done this kind of a session before. Like just a straight kind of video shoot, recording into an H8.
Yeah, that was part of it, because it was just easier than going through the board for that, because it was going to be a pain in the ass. But at the same time, it's also
we
like,
only had 6 mics anyway, so
yeah, it was fine. Red Cabin, we're going to be on the air in Cleveland this week, Johnny Cash Marathon. By the way, I should tell Dylan this. I haven't told Dylan. I let Red Cabin use our Johnny Cash cover for his radio station in Cleveland. So feel free, push people towards Dark Corner Studios if they like the song. This is also like, with all the expansion of things and things in my life kind of going a little nuts with all the work that's happening and stuff. One of the things that I really, really desperately want to do is I've got a cover of Seven Nation Army ready to go. It's not a hard song to do. I don't know how I'm going to shape it for this channel, or if I'm just going to rip out Seven Nation Army and put it up and go, here's the song. However we do it, I really, really want to start doing that kind of stuff a little bit more often. Things are going to get a little crazier come late August, early September, but I still think like this is something that maybe we can devote a full day to. One day during the week where we can just pump out some music and get some stuff. Like I'm bringing Dylan over to record the drums for that at my house, which is going to be really interesting when you see the drum kit, Dylan. You're gonna laugh when you see it. It's a little jazz kit, like it's a cheap one. I know other pros that have owned this and have used it. It ain't really boomy, but it's cute. So there is that. Oh, cymbals are fantastic. The cymbals are beautiful.
As you heard, there's ways you can mic stuff. Like if you want a kick to be more boomy, for example.
Yeah, it's
there's
true.
ways to do that.
That kick. What did you think of the kick on that, by the way? I never got to ask you about this. I sent you the audio from that.
Yeah, you did. I didn't listen to it.
Oh.
I haven't listened to it yet. I don't even know where I downloaded it, to be honest. It's just been such a stupid week. I just wanted to download it and get it on the system.
The kick was weird. It was weird.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird and flaky. I think it probably was just air movement, if I had to guess.
Absolutely.
Just coming out of that port.
Yeah, I would be interested to see with that mic inside the port.
Well, and so as I was telling you, like, especially now mucking about with it and seeing sort of its very unique clip design, it's designed for that. Because it's designed in such a way where you can stick it, just whoop, straight in the hole, because it's a big feller. For a kick drum mic, it's large. Normally mics that go inside a kick drum, you want them to be small, like a 57.
Yeah.
But this thing is designed where it's large, but the clip is made so that it goes in parallel, and then you can easily just swivel it around inside the drum, and get the exact like azimuth that you need.
Yeah.
Going up to the batter.
It's dual capsule too, and I believe the dual capsule's for that airflow. So the dual capsule's meant for that. So I got a couple questions. Super Z Dog, hello. You did a review for the Samson CO2s. That was horrible. Will you review more small diaphragm condensers? I actually have. This is part of the microphone set that we mic'd a drum kit with.
We almost did. We
What's
didn't
that?
use it. We didn't use it.
The LA 120s?
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the 170.
No, so we did. This is the LA 120s. These are awesome. These sounded fantastic, Dylan. Like when you listen back to the drums, a couple of things stand out. The overhead, the LA 220s' overhead sound really nice and fill out. That gave it, like, you almost don't need room mics with the LA 220s above. It really filled it out beautifully. And these things, the LA 120s, they have high and low pass filters on them, and really, really cool. They also have Omni capsules that come with it, and you can get a mechanical pad for them. So it's I believe a 10 dB mechanical pad, meaning It's not a switch, so it's not an electronic pad. It's an actual physical pad that you put between the between the capsule and the microphone.
Which makes a lot of sense, because if you're micing a drum, that's a lot of SPL.
Yeah.
That is a lot of air pressure changing, and just putting an electronic filter,
It doesn't do anything to your capsule.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that, you can still overload your capsule with that. And that's like one of the fascinating things about this is we put it on and we had one without the without the pad and one with the pad because we were swapping them out. One had noise on it or something. We took that off.
Yep.
That was a very, very interesting sound that we got out of both. Very, very crystal clear. So these ones are coming up. So I do have more small diaphragm condenser. I'm going to be doing some P170 work. I bought a second one just for doing that. So the problem is with a lot of small diaphragm condensers, you're relying on music. And up until recently, music hasn't done great on this channel. And over the next 6 months, I'm trying to change that, which is why we're doing miking drum kits, which is why we're miking guitar amps. And I did a video on miking an acoustic guitar. We're also doing cover music. We're going to be and kind of integrating the reviews into that stuff. And that's one of the things I want to do. One of the things I'm really excited about having the Boss Gigcaster for is when I'm doing a review on something and I want to actually put together a small little song, I actually have stuff where I'm not messing around with plugins. I can literally rip something out. It's going to sound decent. It's not going to be a professionally produced song, but it's going to sound decent. It's going to sound, everything's at my fingertips, and it's more than just a blues driver. So I think being able to do a lot of that stuff is kind of a slow build out. So yeah, I do have more small diaphragm condensers on the way. It's just a matter of kind of shoehorning music on this channel. It is very interesting to see how people reject music when they're not coming here for music. As soon as they see you pull out a guitar, people are literally off the video. They want nothing to do with it. And we have changed the dialogue, and it has been getting better. I've got a little audio clip of for the LS308 or 208 that I do a review on. That's coming up in August as well. I have a little audio clip of me just ripping on the guitar. I play some acoustic. I play the bass, the acoustic bass, and then I get out the electric guitar and I can't even remember what settings I used. There's one point in the solo where it's a little piercing, but I didn't want to change anything to it. I just wanted to get it on to you so you could hear the mic. So yeah, we're slowly moving towards more music, to put it that way. The SP1s, pair of pencil condensers, the UA SP1s. I do want to get more UA stuff. They're prohibitively expensive sometimes, so.
Yeah.
So
it's universal audio, of course.
That's the only problem I have with yes, I do want to start doing this stuff. Companies that send me stuff definitely are going to get on the channel. But if I have to purchase it, I'm going to make sure I'm purchasing it for something that's a wanted, people want to see that, and that's something people are asking for. Otherwise, I'm spending money on getting 1/3 the views because people aren't as interested in music. So give it time. As music fills out this channel, along with the spoken word stuff and the podcasting, I feel like there's going to be a lot more room for doing that kind of stuff. So yeah. Seen those Zildjian practice cymbals? They're full of holes. They chew up your sticks, though. Yeah. What's the point of the practice cymbals with holes on them, Dylan? Are they just quieter?
I mean, I find just the decay sounds different. The decay is shorter.
Oh, okay.
And it's just a different sounding cymbal.
Okay.
And I would say, yeah, it's less harsh too. It's a little bit more you get more the fundamental cymbal note is a lot louder in relation to the overall than with a regular cymbal.
Fair. Mr. Steely Pan. I like that name. I like that. Hey guys, I really enjoy regular tech reviews. I hope mine. I'm normally on radio in the UK right now, but I have a rare evening off. What's with Dylan's Jack FM windshield? Do you both work in radio? I didn't think I got the Jack FM.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say I didn't. Yeah, that's funny.
Dylan does actually work in radio. Producer extraordinaire and voice talent. We won't name the parent company, but you know, through Jack FM, you can probably figure it out. We're Canadian,
Yeah,
so
I should say I don't. This was when I was their a main producer in London, London, Ontario, not London, England. So that's where I got this from, was sort of a parting gift. We ended up moving buildings near the end of my tenure there, and then so coming here, it's a solid windscreen, so I just keep it because why the hell not?
yeah, it helps. Was a morning show host for my career in radio, which ended last October. And I decided to focus on doing content creation for YouTube and podcasts. I'm now a podcast editor and YouTuber and whatever else I can do to get my hands on your money. So that's what I do. Radio is one of those things that I don't think I'm ever going to be able to go back to. Seeing how, like, even in the US, they're like wholesale laying people off. There's stations that are already rolling out AI jocks. Yeah, my breed's done.
The company I work for is one of them. They're doing that. That's a project that's happening right now.
I am not a cat says, cool. I'm certainly interested in mics for recording. Cool. You're in the right place then. Yeah, Dan says, what's up with the windscreen? I don't. Maybe it's because they can't see it. I don't know. Maybe people want to see it.
There we go.
Here's Super Z Dog has an interesting question.
Yeah,
one that I've been
money shot because we're gonna do that obviously.
So I wanted to do a round of piano stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
The problem is the studio to record the piano at. So do you know anyone that owns a grand or at least a decent sounding piano to record off of?
I know someone that owns a Yamaha C3, which is a really kick-ass grand, and it's in very good condition.
Will they let us hang out and record some videos with it?
It's complicated, possibly, but it's complicated.
Okay, all right, cool. Anyways, so the studio that they have a grand piano, it's like a 1800s grand piano, like it's real old. It's nice, it sounds okay, but it's horrifically out of tune, and I have to pay to have it tuned in order to use it. And I don't mind the idea, but once again, this channel isn't making money hand over fist for music stuff. So whether or not I'm going to go pay to have a video that only a third of people watch is kind of tough. And I really want to get doing piano miking. Dylan is a phenomenal pianist. Absolutely amazing pianist. So having,
I was gonna say it probably wasn't sounding like it when I'm trying to play along with a track that's tuned and this is not tuned.
Oh, it sounded like absolute dog shit. Yes, I should actually release some of that video. Just so you hear that. Was it a G note?
It sounded like a honky tonk. That's what it sounded like.
It was bad, but yeah, like we want to get in on a lot of that kind of stuff. And we do have, like, between myself and Dylan, we do actually have a decent group around us where we can probably source some of that stuff out. So yeah, and like some of the best ways, like recording a piano is a lot like recording drums. It's not one instrument. It's like every string on a piano is almost like its own instrument, right? Like
don't be stealing my lines.
I'm letting you have it in the video, okay? But no, it's true though. Like,
yeah, it is true. You know what? Hey, Aiden, would you be down for a video talking about how to mic up an ensemble? Like, if I could get an ensemble together?
Yes.
Would that be a cool thing? Cool.
That would be awesome. Right. How big of an ensemble?
Like a 63 piece.
All right. Do they have mics?
No. We'd bring our own.
We bring our own. Okay. Well, we're gonna bring all of our mics. That'll be awesome, though.
In an ensemble, you don't mic up each instrument.
No, I know. It's room mic.
Yeah, it's room mic. There's some sort of overhead style. Again, it's like you said, it's like recording a drum kit. You're recording the instruments, but also the room that they're in.
But you have directional mics going to certain sections.
I'm stoked to do the pipe organ video, though. I think that's the one. I'm like,
this is the big one. Awesome. Can you record a pipe organ? Because the problem with the pipe organ is it's the building itself is the instrument, right? Like pipe organs are not. Yeah. And I believe these LA-120s. This is what my friend at Lawton told me, because I was asking him about that. And he's like, dude, these LA-120s are crystal clear. You put them in an XY pattern, middle of the room, you're probably going to get the best sounding audio out of it.
See, the
And
thing is, XY. I'm not honestly. I'm kind of over XY personally. If we could do like an MS pattern, or even in a room the size of a church, putting two mics in the middle, right next to each other, you're not really getting the full.
all right, so
the full image.
we'll mic the living fuck out of that
Oh
pipe
yeah.
organ, man.
Well, and we'll do different stereo mic setups, and we'll audition them, and we'll say, hey, here's what the different mic setups sound like on the same instrument at the same time. That'd be really cool.
I got to call that church and set that up. Mr. Steely Pan's a BBC DJ, but we're all being made redundant, aren't we all? Yeah. So the redundancy is in Canada specifically. It's all being kind of shuffled out the door for money. I don't know how the BBC is. The BBC is a lot like CBC here in Canada. And it's a proof that there's plenty of money in radio, but the big players don't really like to spend the money. They like to coat their pockets with it.
I was gonna say, like, so I'm not sure BBC. I'm not sure how much they rely on commercial revenue. I imagine they're a lot different. CBC is a Crown Corp, so they get money from our taxes for the most part. So yeah, I mean, if you get a job at CBC, it's a pain in the arse because you're dealing with government people all the time. But yeah, it's probably a pretty stable gig if you get in.
Well, it depends on which government's in power. That's how stable your gig is. And it's true. Like, I've known people that got laid off from CBC because the wrong government came in that didn't support. Anyways, that's a whole other.
That is the downside is, when you work in commercial radio for the most part, you don't really have to pay much attention to what the hell's going on upstairs. But with Crown Radio, if there's a prime minister coming in who does not like spending money on government-based media, you're gonna have.
It's awkward. Gear Junkie, how's it going, buddy? Like the U.S. and Canada, local and regional radio in the UK is being pulled apart and networked. Very sad. Yeah, and it's going to be as the rest of the world has already moved on from broadcast style content. And I was just talking to my father-in-law about this. Broadcast style content is something that has developed over well over 100 years. It's stuff that we've known. It's the stuff we watched on TV. It's the stuff we listened to on radio. The problem is we are no longer in a broadcast heavy environment in our lives. Stuff like YouTube, stuff like Mr. Beast isn't broadcast style content. So we're now in.
So I'll give you a bit of insight from inside the account manager strategist kind of world. So what you're talking about in my business and in the folks across the street, they call it linear media. And so the era of linear media is going away because linear media is really inefficient. So we're moving now towards a model that includes a lot of targeted media. And so, what you're talking about, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, all that kind of short form content that's non-linear is targeted media. Which is great because targeted media allows me as a content creator to get my message in front of people that actually care about my message, rather than just blasting it out to the general populace and crossing my fingers, which is the downside of linear media. So as much as there's a lot of people that love it because it's a nostalgic point, it's an understandable leap that we're making. It's a very sad one, but I understand where it's going.
But I mean, in a lot of respects, traditional media has tried super hard to avoid personality over the past 10 years. Personality has been kind of shelved in more of a music drive and more of a back to the music. You shouldn't be talking for more than 30 seconds. Back to the music. When that's the one thing that actually made traditional media stand out were the personalities. And now you see those personalities going on. And I know several that have very successful content creation careers now because the very thing that radio used to want them to do, they're now doing for someone else. They've just repackaged it.
Here's what I've also noticed is in programming discussions around these various formats, and I've been involved in many different formats over the years in programming conversations. What is happening is they're realizing, wait a minute, back to the music. We're Spotify. Yeah. Except you don't play what people want to hear, and we have commercials sprinkled in every 20 minutes.
Yep.
So now the industry is trying to reverse And they're saying, no, as much personnel, like they're inserting more break content per hour because they're realizing, wait, we need to distance ourselves from the streamers because they
Yeah.
are kicking our ass. And that's not good. So it's funny what you're but then the problem is they're not paying people what they're worth in order to be a
Because
personality.
in order to be a content creator, and this is the problem, we're now content creators. Morning show hosts are content creators. Content creation isn't a simple, easy job. You don't just have somebody turn on mic on and go, be entertaining, be funny. Do something that people are going to remember for years. I can still remember stuff when I was a kid on the radio. And I always talk about Paul Harvey. If you know who Paul Harvey is, you'd know his catchline. And now you know the rest of the story. He had a type of show that would keep you glued to your seat. If you had pulled up to work and it was like 3 minutes before 9 a.m. and you were listening to Paul Harvey, you waited until Paul Harvey was done before you got out of the car. He was one of those people that could transfix you. And he used to literally spend his whole day working on tomorrow's piece. He was a literal definition of an art form. And what you have is we've weeded out a lot of these really good content creators for radio by doing this like, okay, well, we're only paying 30 grand a year. People that actually create content don't work for $30,000 a year, man. People that are really good, sure, you might be able to get some young kid that just wants the money to work on TikTok, or your TikTok account. But what good is that going to do you? It's going to get you a TikTok account. Your money's in radio. TikTok, nobody goes on TikTok and goes, oh, you know what? I should listen to the radio. Nobody goes on Facebook.
No, it's funny. Mr. Steely Pan just made a great point, and I think it's something that we leave out of the conversation when we're talking about the differences between linear and targeted media, and that is the live nature. And yes, there are targeted media forms that are also live, but for the most part, targeted media is pre-distributed.
Yep.
And so when we're talking about there is a certain magic to, like we're saying, like people who are up late at night, people who get lonely, people who want some company. I used to do that. Now, of course, when I would tune in a radio station in Ottawa at 11:30 at night when they roll up the sidewalks, and typically it's DJ mode, it's jukebox mode at that point. But it would have been nice. It would have been nice to have someone coming in every couple of minutes just saying, hey, how's it going? Doing some good.
Well, there's
content.
people that exist on the phone. Like there's people that still call in overnight radio. That's their comfort. That's their warmth. And that's the one thing radio that when we go to a network kind of rollout of radio, the AI rollout of radio, that's the one thing that's going to be missing. And like my wife was like, well, they're going to still have somebody at the station for AI shows. And I'm like, yeah, but it's going to be some kid getting minimum wage who's making sure that the shit doesn't light on fire. That's his only, he's not there to make jokes. He's not there to turn the mic on. He's there to make sure AI is pointed in the right direction and doesn't take over the world. That's all he's there for.
He's bored up.
Yeah. And it's like traditional media is going in a direction that has literally taken the personality out of everything. And it's only gonna end up making it worse for everyone and better for everyone that's doing their own content. So that's why I love where I'm at. Mr. Steelypan, I feel sad for audience. Yeah, basically the same thing. I'm not a cat. Paul Harvey was one. Howard Stern was another. Howard Stern is brilliant at what he does. Look at what he did when they wouldn't pay him for what he's worth. He went to Satellite. And that's the thing, like Satellite's a great example of something that radio should have been from day one. Satellite wasn't about hearing swear words. Satellite was about hearing good content. And that's the thing, like, oh, they swear on Satellite. I remember that back in the day, back in the 90s and 2000s. They're like, oh, yeah, they can swear on Satellite. It's not about the swearing, man. It's about the storytellers.
Yeah, it's about the unfiltered, water clear take of what's actually going on.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, and that's like if radio had ever produced content like that, Satellite wouldn't have had a chance, because just the idea of allowing swears on the radio. Now, they did have pointed content, like a lot of AM stuff went Satellite. That was really good AM stuff, but like sports and stuff like that. But they would have killed most satellite radio if they had just put decent content on the radio. It sucks.
Yeah. So know your Joe. I'll respond to this one first. What are your thoughts on C18 and how you believe it will impact Canada going forward?
Canada, eh?
So I am a fan of. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm a fan of free market. I think if you make a good product, that should be why people come to you. People shouldn't come to you because they have to come to you because there's a legislation that says they have to. I think if you make good content and you have a good business and you promote yourself the right way, everything will naturally fall into place. This idea of forcing a certain demographic of content down people's throats on the internet, I don't like it.
No.
I'm not a fan of it.
No, and this is a point to try to get, and it's the failing news corporations. This is what's pushing it. A lot of money is focused on news. If you look around at like some of the biggest money makers in the world, they have their fingers in news piles, which is like a controversy after controversy, and also you can get conspiracies out of it, whatever you want. But the money's in news, and what's happening right now is a lot of news content providers are realizing that people don't read papers. They read online articles, but they want to have a hand up in what articles are read. And so these people with money are literally petitioning the government to try to make it so you have to pay for that news. You can't just read the news for free, because God willing, we actually were able to read news for free.
And I don't want to go to the conspiracy theory side of it because I don't really dabble in that kind of stuff unless there's a motive. But to me, this is the beginning of a new generation of government curated mass content.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't like that foot being in that door.
Well, and but it's always so. Let's be perfectly honest, and this isn't conspiracy theory. The people that control the news also control your governments. And it's not the other way around. That is the biggest lie people are told is that
it's information flow, man. Whoever controls the flow of information controls the mind of the people.
And it's not the governments. The governments do not control. And this is the one thing we've always had backwards in every conspiracy theory. CBC isn't the thing that's destroying news. State-run news or information isn't what's destroying it. It's the money sitting behind the Rupert Murdochs of this world, that they're the ones that are able to shape a lot of the world without you knowing it. And it's not even in the newscasts, man. It's lobbying. There's so much behind that kind of crap that it's dirty, man. And even the Canadian ones, man, there's a lot of money that gets put in. Right now we have two big news corporations about to merge. And they're petitioning the government for bailouts, and they're petitioning the government for money, hand over fist, and all this stuff. And the government's going to do it because the money that's behind it and all of the power that goes along with it. So, yeah, this is the kind of content that is going to be the future. It's Bill C-18 is not going to hurt people like us. It's going to eventually destroy what's left of our news departments. Completely destroy what's left of it. And nobody's...
But it's just that recipe that's underlying this, which is, okay, so you have to serve people in Canada with content that is X. That sentence scares me, because what is X? Right now, X is, well, it's content creators. But does this not open a legislative framework for content control, right? So then the government becomes the entity that starts to control the flow of information.
It never will be. It'll always still be the money that controls it. It's still not going to be the government. And that's the funny thing about it, is there's no government control of information is not a new thing. Propaganda goes back.
Oh no. Yeah. It goes back
hundreds of years. Yep. It's not something that the government is particularly good at. However, there's a lot of media controllers that really want information to flow a specific way, and they have the money to make sure that it does. Google dropping Canadian content is exactly what Canada wanted them to do. So here's the big deal. If you can't just Google a news story from a Canadian outlet, If you can't just like Google what happened here, what you need to do is you need to go to the source. So you need to go on to CTV, CBC, Global, and you have to type it in there and you have to absorb the news from those content providers without an aggregator in the way. And what that does is that now puts up possibilities of paywalls of content being put behind $3 a month if you want access to CTV News, or if you want access to this or the access to that. And that's the first step. And there were a lot of worries about what's going to happen with YouTube as well. Right now, we don't have concerns because Google just didn't play along. Google's like, screw that. We're just dropping your content. We don't care about you, Canada. Google has enough stuff to put in their headlines. They don't need Canadian stuff as well. I don't know. It's 6:10. I'm going to have to get going here in a few minutes. This is a fascinating conversation that we could probably do a whole series on.
I feel like the channel would quickly become demonetized for some suspicious reason.
I wonder why. And in fact, maybe this video already is. That's why social media will be the TV of the future. And that's the thing. So, I mean, you have bad actors in content creation, whether it's like guys like us who are just doing like videos about microphones, or you have stuff like Rebel News. You have a lot of like left and right stuff that you have bad actors in that, but it's uncontrolled, and that's the opposite. That is the freedom way of having your content provided to you. And that is probably the only way we're going to be able to go, because you need to take the money away from the Rupert Murdochs, right? Yeah, I need to take the money away from a lot of the government tied in. Like even in Canada, all of our providers are linked to the government. So it's not government money that's running the news, but it's definitely news that are able to lobby the government. So
it's kind of funny. Do you ever see the video, the little documentary that came out about all the major media outlets and all of the G7 at the time countries are all, there's ties back to the Bilderberg Group for every single major publication?
Yeah. That, no doubt. Like, I remember the one thing, and before we go, we'll get to a couple comments, but before we go, I remember one of my first days in broadcast school. My teacher is Dan Polanen, amazing teacher. It was the first news writing. And the one thing he said to me stuck with me. He said, you now have power. You have the power to tell people exactly what the most important thing in their day is going to be. Your first story is what they need to know. And you have the power to decide what that's going to be. And that power is absolute. You can write anything into a story. You can decide to make stuff up. There is a code that you actually follow when you work for news stations that you don't do that. There's no such thing as making stories up in proper news. Most news people don't do that. There are some that have opinion-based fact news reporting. That's not news. That's opinion-based reporting.
It's editorializing, really.
It's editorializing. But from a newscaster perspective, at least here in Canada, you don't make stuff up. You don't guess. You get the facts, you put it down. But there is still a decent amount of power in knowing that my top 3 stories are exactly what you're going to know at the top of the hour. And the power in that is pretty big. It doesn't seem like a lot until you realize that there's people that start their day with that every day, right? There's
and
people
also,
that
look at how we consume information through those kinds of gates. So at the end of the day, that information that I'm feeding it to you, and the way I'm feeding it to you, it will absolutely influence your opinion on the world. And that's a lot of power.
Okay, so we're going to blow through these really quick. Dan, I think we should trust the government. They know what they're doing. Sorry, I couldn't even finish that. Yeah, nice. Thanks. This makes total sense. The most expensive time slot to advertise during the news. Yeah, no kidding. I completely agree. It may almost be a step toward total government control, but I don't know. It will never be total government control. It will always be large money bags controlling government that control us. The government has no interest in controlling people. That is one of the biggest misconceptions people have. It's the money that controls the government. It's the lobbyists. This is how things like the NRA have so much power in the US, is they lobby the government. They put money in the pockets of government and they make sure that their policies are held. And I'm not saying pro and con versus whatever. I'm just saying lobby power is power in Canada or the US. That's how it works. So the people that that have all the big money, they're the ones that control the government that control you. So you're never being controlled by the government. You're being controlled by the people that control the government. It's real meta shit, man. Dan, this is a good one. Hey, Aiden, whatever happened to that UASD1 mic you tested a while back? Didn't make your micro lock cut. I never worked it. I never reviewed it because I was supposed to get it. I had a working agreement with Universal Audio or a rep for Universal Audio. I've always had a working agreement with Long and McQuaid, and this is one of the weirdest things that happened to me. I think it was last year or the year before. I got the UA. What's that? The new interface they had, the UA Volt, the Volt 276 or whatever, or 476. I got that so UA called Long and McQuaid, let me pick it up and borrow it for review. I bring it back, and in the review, I don't say anything about Long and McQuaid. So the guy calls me and he's pissed. How dare you? Long and McQuaid is pulling out. They hate your channel. How could you ever review that without mentioning Long and McQuaid? We're not working with you again. We're done. And hangs up on me. I'm like,
That's weird.
That's kind of weird because I was about to get the SD1 next. And so I called Long and McQuaid and I'm like, guys, you upset? Like, are you having a hard time? And he's like, no, we don't care. Oh, okay. So it was just this guy that didn't. So I think somebody at head office at Long and McQuaid got a little pissy and like, we're not working with him anymore. Yet Long and McQuaid, the actual store, was still giving me stuff. So I just don't review much UA stuff anymore because of that. So kind of put a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. Someone asked about the UA pencil condensers. Yeah, at some point, it's going to be the last thing I spend money on. No offense. Mr. Steelypan, great discussion. We're going through digital first strategy, but you can't click on a tab on an app for a friend. Money's being moved to digital to online news. Yeah, money's going everywhere right now. There's such thing as digital poverty. Jesus, thinking of getting a pair of pencil LA120 V2s for recording pinball. I need something with good EMI rejection since pinball puts out a lot of EMI under the playfield. I don't know what the EMI rejection is on them, but the LA120s are fantastic. Watch for the review I've got. It's probably coming up in August. Actually, you know what? I might run it out in July because I've gotten a lot of mics from Lawton and I haven't put a lot of their content out. And I should start doing that soon. Steely Pan, thanks guys. Cheers guys. It's well beyond my bedtime. I got to get out of the door and actually we're going for pizza at a nice little restaurant there around the corner. And I also have to go potty. So have yourself a great rest of your weekend and we'll see you next